That sounds like Ash.
Hello, mate. How are you?
Oh, I'm tired as, mate. Absolutely tired.
Yeah. What were you doing yesterday?
Well, I woke up at 2:30 this morning for some weird reason, and I've been probably outside for I don't know, 8 hours today working, and inside for 4, and it's just ready for bed.
You need a bed. Oh, dude, that doesn't sound fun. Well, it doesn't sound too bad. Tired for
So,
good reasons.
yeah. Very big weekend coming up too. So it all starts in the morning and finishes on Sunday night about 6 o'clock, I think.
Oh, really?
Flat out till then, yeah.
Wow.
Looking forward to next Monday.
What just
I've got
actually,
deliveries up the north of the state on Saturday, so I'll be preparing for that tomorrow. And I've got to come back. So that's about I don't know, probably about 900-kilometer round trip, and I've got to be back on Saturday because we've got a pop-up shop on Sunday that I've got to prepare for. So to get back, empty the trailer, load the ute, and away we go.
So it's just constant at the minute, is it?
Yeah, it's flat out autumn. Very, very busy time for gardeners, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, exhausting, but is it by the sort of end of each day, do you feel like really satisfied?
Yes, mate. Yes, and then I've got to go to work.
What's
but that's okay. This is the work.
Oh, this. Oh, so the other thing's the fun.
No, this is all good, mate. No dramas at all.
Oh, I mean, it sounds constant, but I think I'd prefer to be doing stuff like that than sitting vegging watching TV, for example.
Yeah, look, it's nice. The sun's been beautiful today. It's glorious out there, and I can understand why there are a lot of gardeners out and about wanting to plant bamboo at the moment, and go for it. Good on them.
And you're the man they come to see?
Well, I'm the only guy, man. I'm the only man on the island.
Wow. Well, that's brilliant, mate.
Yeah.
Do you think anybody else would start doing it?
They want to have deep pockets, mate. And
really?
They want to be keen. Yeah, it's a very expensive setup.
Right.
And I've got now 18 months jump on them. So
yeah.
All part of the plan, mate. 3.5 years to go, and we'll look to sit back and watch someone else do it.
Oh, reap the benefits.
Well, we hope so. That's the plan.
Yeah.
Then I'll be making little bamboo flutes and all sorts of little things. Then I'll just
nice
whittle away on the veranda and have a stubby in one hand and bamboo pole in the other. What's wrong with that?
Looking like Chevy Chase.
Yeah, looking like Chevy Chase.
Yeah, well, the You Can Call Me Out video. I suppose we may as well get started. Are we? I mean, I've got not a whole bunch today, to be honest.
I suppose we had. No, I haven't got a lot either. I'm kind of in cruisy mode at the moment, not thinking too much about jumping in the market, but there's always going to be something. I see you're got a range going on, like it's a slingshot scenario.
This here?
Well, I haven't got your chart. I'm just looking at my 30-minute chart on the FTSE, and looks very rangy.
It is rangy. Yes, it is rangy. I think we'll probably have a look at that in a bit more detail. But yes, it is kind of rangy.
So
on the hourly,
it's kind of no, as I understand it in Parliament over there.
Yeah, nice and clear.
It's a WTF moment again, isn't it?
Yeah, just I don't know. I don't really know what to say about it. I've got question time tonight, which I'm going to have to watch. I'm still just about getting into the time zone, which hasn't been too bad actually, because I've been going to bed earlier than normally I'd be sort of going to bed around about midnight when I was before I travel, but I'll be going to bed more like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and then getting up that little bit earlier. So I'm just getting washed out by 10 at the minute, and the problem is question time doesn't start till 10:30, so it's a late one. But it's the only thing that I've got that I could maybe actually learn something from. That there's another political show that I will be watching it as well today. But
what's that? Yes,
yeah,
please.
no, it's practically that though. It's such a farce. But there was a couple of, I suppose there was a couple of options that maybe because they had more support, they may fly eventually. One of them is the second referendum on the deal, and the other one is a customs union that the father of the house, whose name escapes me right now, but those two seem to garner the most support. Theresa May's deal may get some support because she has now said that she will step down to clear the way for the next phase of negotiations, and it means that the likes of Boris Johnson, Jacob Rees-Mogg are quite content with that, because ultimately Boris Johnson wants the job. So if he's getting a date in mind that she might step down, then he said that he will back her amendment, back her deal, if the date of her stepping down is fairly imminent. So that's the one card that she has left to play.
I was going to say that's the last one, isn't it? Really?
Yes, it is. The problem is that the DUP that really support the government in Parliament and prop them up don't really support her deal, and without their support it's not going to get through, and they haven't really got the same motivation to get rid of Theresa May and maybe replace her with Boris Johnson or one of the others that obviously Boris Johnson does. So it's not really much of an ace card for her. So it's possible still that her deal gets through, but as you say, it's just no, 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 and you start thinking, well, what do you want? I mean,
Exactly.
they've requested cross-party cooperation, and when the cross-party cooperation gets some sort of basis for discussion, where do they start? I mean, there's just no clarity. So I don't really know where we go from here, if I'm honest, mate. I woke up to that news and I looked at the pound and it hadn't really gone too far. It has drifted a little, but I looked at it against the euro and it hadn't really gone too far. So I was quite surprised about that. I've got to be honest. I thought we'd see a lot more weakness with the pound with the lack of clarity. The FTSE has managed to kind of hold on to some of its gains, but aside from that, there wasn't a great deal of price action after those votes. And it's interesting, the first time we get these votes going on, which was a couple of weeks ago, then there's a lot more there's a lot more activity in Parliament. But the more times these things keep coming back, there's a lot more activity in the charts, but the more times these things keep coming back, there's just less and less activity that seems to go
boy
on.
who cried wolf, same sort of thing.
Yeah, yes it is. Yeah,
you get over it, don't you?
Yeah, you absolutely do. And I'll quickly show you this is the FTSE chart, and this is what you were talking about with the range. There is a range here that you are absolutely on the money with. The thing with this range is that it's probably a shade more bullish than bearish. There was a trade down here that do you know what? There was the absolute perfect setup here yesterday, and I'll show you that in a little bit more detail. But I took a trade to the downside just here, and I'm going to mark it off because it's not so easy to see on the hourly. But when we come down to the 15-minute chart, we can see just a little bit more clear, with a bit more clarity, that there was a breakdown of price here. There's a little breakdown of price here, probably that line there. And as soon as this area was starting to get taken out, it just managed to hold on. But as soon as this area was starting to get taken out, it was a really nice move to the downside. And I was looking for then to see if it would break down, see if the whole pattern would break down. I have to say, I want to say being nimble. I don't know how to say that in a specific way, but my speed of thought was lacking to the point that what I really wanted to do was come down here and hedge down here, hedge back to the upside. and see what happened. And I waited just a little bit too long because there's a monthly pivot just a little bit lower. And I was looking and I was thinking, I really want to be hedging down here. It was only another 20 pips or so, but I wanted to be hedging down there, not there. So I left it. And inevitably, when you get in here, it's a really good point to move stops to break even and not have to worry about the trade at all. But inevitably it shot back to the upside and took my stop out, and I ended up making a pip or two. I think I moved my stops to slightly better than break even, but then I ended up making a pip or two from something that was a decent move. And it got to the point yesterday I was thinking, I'm really kind of bashing my head here. Now, when I'm looking at this, it looks like a short-term snap decision, maybe hedge at the pivot. But the reason I was holding on is that when I look at the chart in the longer-term time frames, this is last week's bar. So when I get a setup to the downside, my thinking is, this is where this could start. This is where we could actually start to get a genuine move down and off the back of this particular bar. And by the end of the week, we could be really starting to waterfall to the downside. Now, the other thing is the monthly bar, which hasn't formed yet. But if that had triggered some downside, then it would have made a really negative monthly bar. I mean, by the time it was at the lows, the monthly bar was pretty much back to where it opened. So it was starting to look really bearish, and I was starting to think, this is great. I can just stick with this. I'm looking at this month and next month for some downside because of this bar. And then all I need to do, as it comes down, any bounce points I'll hedge, see if I can stay in. If they don't bounce, then I'll let it go down and take the hedge off at some point. And I've got a really nice kind of setup to the downside on a longer term chart, on a medium term chart with a weekly, and then with the daily. It was a little bit questionable, which is the only thing about it. But the dailies really suggests that there might be a head and shoulders pattern of some sort coming before it's going to move to the downside. So, I was really hoping for the dailies just to catch up and go with it. But certainly 4 hourly, again, it was this price action wasn't in place. In fact, this was the bar that I was trading. So it just gone to the upside, looked like it managed to find some resistance, and maybe that was going to be where price is going to come down and then start to really fly. So, the bars were really starting to suggest that I'd managed to get some really good timing, but as it turned out, I didn't. I made a pip, as I say, from the trade rather than the whatever was on offer, 50 that were on offer.
You like me on Euro Yen yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those that I would probably. I don't know if I do the same thing again or not. I mean, I'm not really. I'm frustrated, but I'm not beating myself up about it because it's it's not obviously good practice to hedge if you've got something going in your favor. And you see these 3 black crows here, and it looks like it's off on its way. Yep. And then all of a sudden we get a pretty strong hold. So yeah, I wanted to avoid the hedge if I could, because I wanted to just allow things to go and then just trade it as normal. But that didn't really give me the opportunity. And actually all that's happened is it's turned around and now created what is a little hourly move to the upside, a little hourly trend to the upside, but as you say, within this range. So not too keen right now to take anything, to initiate anything. I'm still looking to see whether this does become some sort of left shoulder. Even if it doesn't, I really like the level, because that level drives us right the way through here, here, and here. So I would still probably, I think the shorts are more attractive than the longs. Yes, you could trade this to the upside, but there's enough weakness in this bar and enough aggression in this bar now to get out of those trades. I did have some upside trades, which I managed to get a little bit out of, and I didn't quite equal out the hedge, but I did manage to kind of equal out the hedge a little bit. So I have to say, mate, this month has been harder than it should have been. The profit that I've got this month is nowhere near, I don't think, reflective of what's happened with the movements in the price action. This gap really threw me. That's where it all started for me. That's where it all started being very, very difficult when I woke up and I found this gap in the market from this point to this point. with the rollover of the options. It really messed me up because I was short on this, before this gap had happened. I was short along this line here, and then all of a sudden the gap happened, and I found that I had pretty much the same price. I'd made no money because there was actually no gap. Is the thing.
Yeah.
The gap was there visually, but because of the rollover, it actually wasn't there, and that's where things started to become very, very difficult for me.
It's complex, isn't it?
But yeah, I mean, I was chasing my tail pretty much
because visually you're thinking one thing, and actually another thing is happening.
Yeah, yeah, it completely. That's exactly what happened. So, I guess I'm pleased that I've ended the month in positive territory. And it's not awful. Don't get me wrong. It was it's a 1.5%. It's not amazing, but it's a 1.5%. So it's not absolutely diabolical. But I really would have liked to have grabbed at least 4% out of this month would have been more than achievable, and maybe higher than that if I hadn't been so. I think I was on the back of my on the back of my feet. I wasn't really on my toes, because what I should have done down here is when I saw that there was literally no profit and there was a gap. I was short and there was no profit and there was a gap. I should just close the trade, because at that point you start going, no, I'm not really seeing what is expressed here. I did ring the broker and ask him about it. And they just went, it won't affect your trade, and I didn't really know what that meant, so I left it.
They just talk garbage.
Yeah, they didn't help me one bit.
Man.
Yeah, didn't help me one bit. But I should just close it down and let things develop, and then that would have changed the whole complexion of the month. But I didn't do that. So that is where we're at, mate. And all that means is that I am probably on my hands for the day, and probably maybe even tomorrow. It depends.
Yep. Okay. Should we have a look at some currencies? I think we should probably.
Yeah. Let's do that.
We better start with cable, I guess. And there you see exactly what has happened. And since a week ago, not a whole lot. But it looks like we're going to have a crack at these lows and maybe the monthly pivot again, or are we? We've tried this many times. This 1, 2, 3, well, a week. Let's say week, almost a week. We're into Thursday. Yet look what we see: false break to the high side, false break to the high side, false break to the high side. Does anybody remember what we traded euro yen a week or so ago on the 4-hour chart? False break to the high side, false break to the high side, false break to the high side. And look what happened. Is it going to happen again? I'm not going to predict that, but I'm going to trade it if I get the opportunity. There's no question about that. And really, all I was looking for today was maybe a daily pivot and a reversal bar, or even above the daily pivot and reversal bar, and that would have done me. Very, very tough to get in here, of course. Number one, I'm sound asleep. Number two, how do you get in here? Impossible. There's your entry bar. That's almost impossible as well, because you can't even see it. It is about 5 pips. So, yeah, really, really good if you got into this move, or absolutely exceptional if you got into that one. So what happens? I'd accept, as I said, a daily pivot bounce here. I don't want to go short at this level. That's a fact. As much as I think this can go, and probably will, I just cannot enter at this level. No way. So how do I do it? I've got to wait for a retracement. It doesn't look like it's got that in its mind at the moment. But, of course, we haven't had London Open yet. So we've had no response to this from the major traders in the world. Let's see if they can drive it back to here and look for that lower high. Maybe we can find a short. Am I committed to a short? Well, only because of this. This is telling me short. Nothing else, really. I'm fundamentally, I can't believe I'm going short, really. Because technically, when I look at this chart, and I've said this all along, it does seem impossible to go short the pound at the moment. But look what I see. When I see that, I start to think reversal coming. So there you go. I'm kind of in two minds here. I'm struggling between what I'm believing and what I'm seeing, and always I've got to go with what I see, not with what I believe. So it'll be a short if it sets up. I guess we go from there to the euro, and the euro looks, for all intents and purposes, as though it's committed to this downside. And pardon me, I see absolutely nothing to do here except ride the wave if it continues. I don't see any sign of reversal. I definitely see that we've hung around here a bit. So that support level has held us up, no question. But at the same time, we're still getting lower highs and lower lows. We've come off the daily pivot yesterday. We're at the daily pivot again today, and it looks as though we're having another crack at going short again. It will be interesting to see what happens when in 7 minutes' time the market opens. But I'm less convinced. Believe it or not, I'm less convinced today than I was yesterday that we're going to continue this run short. But as soon as this level goes, it's here quickly. I think. I don't think it'll hang around too long. I think we'll just shoot straight down here.
We got numbers today, haven't we, mate?
I don't think it's too much. I think there's GDP figures out
yeah.
of the States.
The States. I think that could be quite key today because maybe more so than normal because of the trade dispute. If GDP does start to shrink from the United States as well as we've had from China, then I think there could be some market moves. And actually, the trend has been just moving to the downside. When we look at June 2018 and then September.
Well, if it's anything like reasonable, it would be bucking the world trend. So
yes,
I can't see it happening.
No, I think this could be actually quite. It might be a number that's really closely watched today.
Yeah, it may well be. True story.
Surprised we get to. That's at 12:30 UK, so in about 4.5 hours. We might get some clarity on that.
I'll barely be awake, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether it would necessarily move things too much. Nothing really tomorrow. I tell you the big thing for me. I was looking through the calendar to try and get some.
Yep. What'd you
get
find?
some idea of when it might move, and I didn't really see too much that was hugely significant until, I mean, there's a few bits and pieces. There's we do have the Brexit vote in the start of May. Then I was shooting along to a few bits and pieces. There's a bit of non-farm, just the general things. But I think when we start looking at Monday, the 8th of April, there's a tentative trade balance out from China, which I think does start to become really heavily watched. GDP from the UK might be something. There's an ECB press conference as well. All of this I think significantly is leading us up to the 16th of April when we get the GDP quarter and year from China, and I think that could be a driver, because if GDP genuinely does start to shrink after we see some weak numbers from China's trade balance and everything else, I think that could be the catalyst that could start driving things lower. If that happens, obviously that's it's a long way off, and it's a big if, because so many things can happen before then. But I think we could actually start seeing some movement if it hasn't already started moving around about the 16th of April.
Stranger things have happened, I suppose. Are we still? I hate to keep bringing it up, but the date for Brexit was tomorrow, right?
Yep.
Are we absolutely committed to going beyond that now? We are, aren't we?
Yes. Yes, yeah. So there's another Brexit vote. You know, that they really are taking this to the absolute wire. In fact, they're moving the wire, so it's really difficult to even say that anymore. But there's a Brexit vote on I thought it was the 2nd of April, but maybe it's the 3rd of April. Wednesday, the 3rd of April. There's Brexit votes, and at that point, I think there's votes in Parliament. Up until that point, we got Theresa May's deal going back through. We'll probably have another second referendum deal going back through, and some Norway options possibly all starting to go through again. And then when the idea is decided, then there will be a parliamentary Brexit vote on the 3rd of April, which will probably be the binding vote to take back to the EU.
Probably.
So we've got at least another week. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. It can't get kicked down too far, because the big issue is the European elections, the European parliamentary elections, because one way or the other, I think Europe wants to know, are we staying or are we going by that point? Because they want to know, if we're staying, then putting forward candidates is absolutely fine. If we're going, there's no need to do any of that. So they really do want to make sure that this thing is tidied up before those European elections, and I think they're May, but they might be June. But there's certainly that, you know, this half of the year. So we haven't got hopefully too much longer of this frustration. But you know, as you say, you never really know. But I think the Europeans are fed up with it. I think certainly the British people are fed up with it. But I found it astonishing, I have to say, to wake up this morning and find that there was nothing. You know, they must have been talking amongst themselves before these votes happened, and they must have been garnering some kind of support for their own specific offering when they put things down, when they put their own amendments down. But
there were a couple of votes that were a lot closer, weren't they? I think.
Yeah, so the second referendum, the second referendum vote is any deal that is finalised needs to be ratified by the British people. So that's one thing that was fairly close, and the other thing was put down by the father of the house, Ken Clarke, his name is. Ken Clarke put down a amendment for a closer customs union, so customs union alignment, which I was reading up on yesterday, and the customs union is that all goods are basically have the same tariffs as they come into each country. There's a block price on customs, so they'll all charge the same customs. So that customs union is one of them. I find that a bit of a strange one, but that didn't go through either. But that was the other one that seemed to garner quite a lot of support. The Norway deal is that we stay closely aligned to the single market and the customs union as well. But I think they want some sort of Norway plus, so there could be something else with the Norway deal as well. So you know, there's other options that they have to discuss, but nothing, as you know rightly said, has had the support it needs, and it seems that everything is going to need a few goes at this to get it through. But I don't know whether they do, mate. I don't know. I mean, when it comes down to it, the default setting or the default position is no deal. So if they can't get any support, then and they're not going to offer another second referendum, all they can do is you know, leave without a deal by you know, just by accident almost.
Look, I'm over it 10 times, tenfold.
Yeah,
and I'm sure everyone else is. Let's get back to some currencies. There's some interesting stuff going on, actually. And I'll just go through those who are still in the trades that I've been calling in the morning show. If you're in the room, and I'm not too sure that's the case, but anyway. We're now... Why can't I see anything?
We can see you.
30-minute chart. It's all right. I couldn't see my entries. Okay, so entry 1 and stop loss is still where it is, just above the weekly pivot. Entry 2 is now above yesterday's daily pivot in terms of the entry, the stop loss. Look, and I said this to the guys this morning, really, I think you can move your stops to entry on that one as well. if not tighten them up a little bit further. I'm just going to leave one of these open. There's every chance we'll bank for the second time on the second trade today if we get down to here, obviously. I mean, that's no fait accompli, but at this stage that looks likely, depending on how the London traders take to this. We shall see. But yeah, just keep locking it in, I reckon. Just keep following it down, except leave one with a bit of space. If we can get to tomorrow, if we can get past tomorrow without price going through the weekly pivot, I think we're in pretty good shape then, because the weekly pivot will come down to maybe here somewhere, and then you can start tightening on the bigger trade. So yeah, just use your discretion, I suppose, but I'd be moving my stops to entry on the second position. In fact, I've already done that. My stops are at entry on the second position as well as the first. So this could be a really nice trade if we manage it properly, or a nice couple of trades if we manage it properly. The other one, which I didn't manage properly, which was Euro Yen, I moved my stops to entry too early, clearly, and only TP1 was achieved there before the trailing stop got hit. Now TP2 has been hit, so we've banked twice again on this one. So this one's freewheeling for 1/3 of the position. So happy days on that. Stop loss. Well, as I said, mine's at entry. And I said to the guys this morning, look, I'm still of that opinion that I think entry is the place for this stop loss to be. You've got the daily pivot protecting it now. You've got the bottom of the range protecting it now. And we'll see what happens here. We've now broken through the lowest low that we've had for the year. Not quite. There's the year's low there. Oh, there's the year's low there. Now, we've got a way to go before we get that. But this is looking very much like it's going to go into range and, into trend, which was really a continuation of the previous. So it's not a fait accompli, as I say. If it gets through this area here, however, wow, this has got a way to go, potentially. We shall see. If I'm not in these moves, what do I do? I'm afraid there's very little you can do, because we've now gone through the lows today. The only way you'd be thinking of trading this would be in the opposite direction to the momentum, and that's precarious at this point. You would need to see a reversal pattern. You would need to see a higher low to make that a safe proposition. Trading my style, that is. If you're a scalper, then you can do what you like. But that's the way I'd approach it. I have now closed Aussie Yen, that little freebie trade that I got triggered into yesterday. That may not have been a great decision either. I trailed my stops down to here, but that's a decent profit from here to here. G'day, Angus. And my trailing stop was now hit, of course. And now we've got this big bar that's looking like it wants to come and challenge this low again. But what I do see here is left shoulder, big engulfing bar here. I think I'd actually be willing to trade this long if I got the opportunity, to be fair. I don't see this candle as being an option, but this is looking like an inverted head and shoulders. And I think probably my decision wasn't too dusty to get out of here. I think it's probably the right move. What else have we got? The Aussie. We haven't had a look at the Aussie. What a great trend line. This morning I was of the mind, and I wasn't able to do so, but here was my position this morning on the 4-hour chart. I saw us hit this trend line again, and I was looking at this bar at the time, and it hadn't closed, it hadn't been below the trend line at that point. And I said to the guys, if this is a bullish bar in any way, shape or form, I want to do two things. I want to put a a short entry here with my stop here, and I want to put a long entry here with my stop here at the same time and trade it as a breakout. That wasn't the case, of course. The candle was garbage. It didn't give us what we wanted. This one kind of did, and I'm wondering if I still got the same. Have I still got the same opportunity? Probably have, you know. Though I don't mind this bar for a short either. I'm getting the wrong price if I get in here. That's the issue. Let's see how this finishes. We may be able to raise that entry to here and still play the OCO. So we can move our short entry to here, stop loss here, and we could have a long entry here, stop loss here. Let's keep our eye on that. That may just work out. We shall see. You can probably guess that I'm not committed to a direction here on the Aussie. But when I look at this chart, I kind of have to favour the short side, I think. We've had a rejection bar. We've had a second rejection bar. Yet we can't break through this trend line. Something's going to happen here. This is going to unwind in one way or the other. And that's why I'm keen to go both directions. I've got no idea which way this will go. But you from this chart, I guess, you've got to favour the downside. And that's why I would have been prepared to trade the break of the trend line rather than, you know, wait until I got exactly what's shaping up here right now. It wouldn't have been that bad. You saw me measure from here to here. And the reason I do that is because if I do enter this trade, I need to take profit before this low. And that's possible. So, yeah, I'm going to keep my eye on this, Ash. This could well set up for us.
Okay, Ming.
No, I did place an order this morning on... Sorry, you got something?
No.
I did place an order this morning on dollar yen, and believe it or not, just like I said on the pound, how can I possibly be thinking short? Well, it's the reverse on dollar yen. How can I possibly be thinking long? Well, I am because we've broken the trend line. We've got back above the trend line and we've retested the trend line. So it's not such a dumb thing as it may first appear. So I'm still hanging on to that. Of course, I'm not in the trade. Price hasn't been anywhere near it. So I'm hanging on to a long above this bar here. The stop's a bit of an issue, though. It's now in a very vulnerable position, given that we have come back below it. Would I change it is the question. Oh, look, I don't think so. How much risk have I got on the table? 45. I'd have to go to 75, really. And then my reward goes out the window. No, I think I'd keep it. So I'm hanging on to that. I'm not going to change anything. So it's dollar yen long if you want to follow it at 110.71 with a 48 pip stop loss. I'm going to take profit quickly, as I've said I will do this week. And it's at 15 pips. I'm going to close half the position, or a little bit better than half the position. I'm going to move my stops to entry at TP2, which is 45 pips, which is on this trend line. And my target is 120 pips. So a little better than not quite 3 to 1, 2.5 to 1. If you get the cash. That's probably all I have to say on that one. Euro pound, still keen to get short, but as I said yesterday, I don't think now is the right time. And I suppose you could have got a bit of profit out of that had you gone short. Not that I could find a way. Maybe you could have traded that bar there a little bit upside down, but there it was. I didn't, obviously. And I still think, you know, above the weekly pivot, maybe hit this 86 area then look for the lower high, then look to trade it short. I just don't think we're ready to go yet. Triple bottom, if you like, that's always a fairly bullish signal, to be fair. And if I saw now a higher low in here, then I'd be willing to trade this up to here. So that's where I'm at euro pound. And am I willing to trade euro pound is the biggest question at the moment on a small time frame. It's pretty precarious. You know, if you've been trading, and I've seen a few people trading the pound and pound yen and suffering badly. And I know a guy who went long here again today, and he smashed out pound yen and pound dollar, both of them. So
he did well with it.
No, smashed out twice.
Yeah.
And he's been following it too. That's about the fourth time he's lost on the same pair.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. You know, and that's a decent trader I'm talking about. So
yeah.
Interesting, really interesting. And that's what I was saying before. How can I trade this short when everything's looking long? But now, as I said a little earlier, if I got a setup, this is a very powerful signal, but it looks like I'm not going to get a setup. That little candle there, eh? Wouldn't that have been nice if you'd taken that? Wishta. Got to get through the monthly pivot, of course. But if it does, away she goes. How's that euro going? Yeah,
I'm just putting an order in as well here, mate.
What do you got, mate?
I am putting an order to go short on the FTSE. Just double checking the levels here, which I will give you now. 17 is 16. 16 is 28. Oh no, check the wrong one there. 16 is that's 42. I think that's right. Okay. So I'm going short. We've got a little bit of time for this, but my order has gone in at 71.69, which in UK cash terms will be 71.40, 42. I think it's a little bit looks like it's in no man's land. It's a little bit lower than I would have liked, if I'm honest, but we are through this level now. And if I look along here, I've just got a little bit of resistance that may well hold up. As I say, it's a little bit lower than I would have liked. I'd have much preferred the 71.92 area, but I don't really want to miss the trade. So that's why I've put it in where I've put it in. So let's see if we get triggered in here a little bit higher, and I'd like to see what's going to happen there. If we bring in this trend line here, then I'd like to see that. That's a bit steeper than I would have liked. Probably that trend line there. So I'll have a look here. I think that the resistance here should be enough to suggest that if it goes through, I may well take it off. In fact, I will take it off. So my idea is to see if I can get triggered in at this price here, which is 71.42 on 71.42 on the UK 100 on everybody's SFSX SFS whatever it is, yeah.
IFS, Mark. I think it's called
IFS, sorry, IFS. So the IFS is 71 72.42. So it's going to be 72.42. So you're going to go in at 72.42, and if it breaks through this level and closes above, then I'll be taking this trade down on retracement, you know, and I suspect we will get the retracement. I'm not too concerned, especially when I see, you know, a strong move like this to the upside. And I haven't really got any specific reason now. I have been trying to listen into this. Yeah, I don't really have any specific. Go on, mate.
Definitely seeing inverse correlation as you would expect right now. Pound and FTSE. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the pound's coming down, is it? Yeah, which I guess, you know, I'm surprised it took so long. If I'm honest, I'm surprised the pound. I'm surprised the pound did what it did. You know, I'm surprised that we didn't just tank with the pound almost instantaneously after the parliamentary votes went in, because it's a fairly clear signal that that nobody knows what's going on and nobody knows what they're doing, isn't it? Which is I think of enough of a reason for there to be some pound weakness. So I'm surprised it's taken this long.
I really don't.
You really don't what, mate? I have lost you. Are you in? Okay, might have to trigger this in myself because I don't see. Let's trigger this in myself here. Oh dear. I've just lost a pip or two, but that's fine. Okay, so that is now in the market. Mate, I've lost you. We've lost you. We've lost Jeff. Now, I don't know whether that's is down to me or... Oh, it looks like we've lost everything.